Hey, this is Mike Carano, and it's hot. I've increased my chances of dying exponentially, and I just realized gas is getting a little pricey. So I was cruising around the outskirts of Sacramento, California, and I saw this baby goat on the side of the road. So I wanted to take its picture. Unfortunately, all I had was a rangefinder camera with a 21mm lens, so I had to get really close. I ended up chasing this goat up this hill, and then I cornered him by this fence. And I went to take his picture, and he was freaking out. And goats are loud. And I know he was just scared because he thought I was going to hurt him. But in my head, I imagined we were having a conversation. Like I was like, "Hey, goat, calm down." And he's like, "Hey man, don't eat me." And I'm like, "I'm not gonna eat you, goat, because I'm not from the Mideast." And he's like, "Hey, you know, other people eat goats besides Middle Eastern people." And I was like, "I know, but I'm just here to take your picture." And the goat's like, "No man, it'll steal my soul." And I'm like, "No it won't, goat, that's Indians and obscure tribes in Africa." And the goat's like, "Okay man, it's cool." And then I leave and the goat's like, "Hey man, I wish I would have asked that guy for some food." Then I was driving back from Arizona and I happened to see this giant inflatable troll guy with a horrible head trauma, and I have no explanation for this. Then I found this old cemetery, and what was kind of interesting about this was there was this chasm between the poor side of the graveyard and the really poor side of the graveyard. I mean, some of these people didn't even have their names on their headstones. Some people didn't even have headstones, they just had a lump in the ground. So I guess when you go to visit your relative, you just go visit this little mound of dirt. And there was this AstroTurf grave, and then this one painted like a 1980 Ford Fiesta. I was driving around the mountains of Julian, California, and I saw this lone cow in this big field. And the cow didn't flinch, didn't move a muscle. So I got out of the car, got the camera, and walked up to it. It still hadn't moved, and I started thinking it was a statue. And then when I got down to take a picture of it, it stuck its tongue out at me. So Friday I was feeling a little stressed out and decided to take a drive out to Las Vegas and win my mortgage. But I got about an hour from Vegas and changed my mind and took a left and went through Death Valley, which I haven't done before. And if you've driven through Death Valley, you know it's a 2-lane road. It's about 120 degrees out there, and there's absolutely nothing. And your cell phone doesn't work, and it's kind of creepy and kind of eerie. And I'm paranoid in general, but on a drive like that, I'm just eyeballing the temperature gauge in my car, and I'm just thinking about every single moving part that could possibly malfunction, leaving me stranded out there to get eaten by a vulture. And then every time a car would drive by the other way, which was like once every 5 or 10 minutes, I'd think it's a serial killer hunting for the ultimate prey, man. And that's pretty much, it's supposed to be a relaxing drive, but I'm pretty much stressing out the entire time until I get to a place where there's some life or some other people. So I eventually come upon this place, this little town, and it wasn't that interesting. And there's a sad little cemetery here as well. And then, this is kind of ironic, but kind of boring, so I kept on going. Drove about another 40 minutes, and I came upon this. This is Death Valley Junction, population 10. And there's nothing here. I mean, there's no gas stations, no restaurants, there's nothing but a few beat up houses, this old train depot, and there's this building, which was used to house the borax miners at the turn of the century. And it sat abandoned for years and years until a New York ballet dancer named Marta Beckett broke down here in the 1960s and had an epiphany to spend the rest of her life here dancing and painting. So this is the Amorgosa Hotel, and this is the Amorgosa Opera House. It's in the middle of the desert. I mean, the nearest gas station is 30 miles away. And this building is run down and seems deserted, but it's open. And this is the inside of the Opera House, and it's unbelievable. And Marta Beckett still lives here and still performs here on Saturday nights, even though she's 84 years old. So when I first got there, I thought it was a ghost town. I pulled over and started taking some pictures, and then I saw an open sign on the motel door, and I went in, which is where I got the information on Marta Beckett and the Opera House. And the story just blew me away. I think it's incredible. I think it's inspiring. I think this woman's artwork is also fantastic as well. She painted the entire inside of the Opera House, including the ceiling. And then I thought, I'm coming out for opening night, and I'm going to stay in this motel, and that'll be kind of a cool story. But after a few minutes, it started giving me the creeps. You know, it's like 120 degrees. Everything's run down. There's no phones in the rooms, there's no TVs in the room, there's no cell phone coverage, there's no restaurant, there's no bar, and the staff leaves promptly at 5. And they also claim it's haunted, but every tourist attraction does that because I'm sure that's good for like 40 or 50 people a year. And then I thought, you know what, it's just too friggin' creepy out here. And plus they have all these signs like warning you to stay out of places and this not responsible for accidents. Like when a crazy desert guy kicks my door open and kills me with a pickaxe, like that kind of accident. So I'm not going to stay there, but I am going out for opening night, and I'm just going to see the show and then make the 2-hour jaunt to Vegas and stay in a regular hotel with drink service. And like I said, I'm sort of obsessed with this whole idea and this notion that this woman had the balls to do this. And I came home at about 2 in the morning and I spent about 5 hours online just reading articles about her. And I found out there was a documentary called Amorgosa, which was produced a few years back, and it's available on Netflix. So I recommend checking that out. And I also recommend taking the road trip out to Death Valley Junction to pay your respects. She's not dead, I mean. Pay your respects to the woman who did something as cool as this. Maybe she'll be dead by the time you get out there, so you can pay your respects in that way. And yes, she has a lot of cats.